Starman back with another one. In this clip, it's Chris Johnson. He talking about how everything we've been taught, you know what I'm saying, was pretty much we've been told a lie. And everyone who graduated financial school, they never figured out that we really have a terrible financial system. You know what I'm saying? Let's get into this clip and let's see what else he got to say.
The biggest thing to learn, or the biggest like, oh crap moment, is to realize that everything you've been told is a lie. Like, even if you think about, like, if you think about people have finance degrees, right? So think about everyone who's ever graduated from college and studied finance in all the Western countries in the world. And none of them have figured out that it's the money that's bad. So it's like man, we've been lied to, we've been misled, but it's been done so surgical that like the people who believe they're educated are miseducated. So the biggest like red pill moment is to realize, like, if you aren't here to save yourself and look for truth, you will like drown. The machine's gonna like swallow you up and wash you out. So just to realize that, like, you have to follow your own tuition. You have to trust what's being, what you see. Like, I use this analogy that, like, you're looking at the Weather Channel and they're telling you that it's going to be a sunny day. But when you look out your window, you see rain clouds, right? And you would kind of be like, kind of dumb in a way to not trust what your own eyeballs see. If you're not trusting what your own eyeballs see, then you're like, relying on them. So you go outside with some shorts and a t-shirt on, and then you get rained on. And then at some point you have to realize, like, is that their fault or is that your fault? Because your own eyeballs told you something different,
Mm-hmm.
So the biggest red pill thing before I can get orange pill is just recognizing that, like, yo, this is, you kind of have to trust yourself and your own knowledge.
Yeah. I love that, because I think that's eventually also what's hard when you are into Bitcoin, is that you still have all of these signals from, the people that shit on Bitcoin, or, say Ponzi, pyramid, there's daily FUD, whatever. And so, you get into Bitcoin not because anyone says, you should do this. I think all the people in Bitcoin invite other people to study for themselves and start thinking for themselves, right? But you still live in a world where this is, still new, and 99 point something percent of the people, they don't understand it, right? So they share their criticisms, etc. And so you have this constant challenge of answering the question, can I still trust myself? Because you're getting this new information also from other people, and then you have to kind of dissect, like, well, do they understand it enough to criticize it? Have they done the work? Is there any substantiation? And this is an ongoing journey in that sense.
Yeah. So going back to the whole, why do you have delicate eggs in a basket anyways, right? So it kind of creates this like this thing, like, oh, you don't want to put all your eggs in in the same basket, right? So just think about like somebody walking around in the world, and the world has all these crazy elements, and there's hills and there's ups and downs, and there's car rides and airplane takeoffs and all this stuff, and you're carrying around a basket full of delicate eggs, and someone's telling you, like, hey, don't put all your eggs in one basket. You're like, why do I have delicate eggs in the first place? Like, why am I tiptoeing through life hoping that I don't drop this basket? Should I make a mistake in life, I should be okay. Like, if I make a mistake in life, I should be okay. If one of my businesses go wrong, I should still be okay. And you will be okay if you're saving in the hardest money known to man, So I was pumping my gas. That's why I made that video. I was just like pumping my gas today, and I was just thinking about it. I'm like, why do we have delicate eggs anyway? Where did this saying come from?
Yeah, that's interesting. And so I assume, and I would love to hear how your journey went, because you sold a lot of assets that you had before. Now, once you understood Bitcoin, I want to talk about that, but before that, like, what was your biggest aha moment? Because you have to study, of course. You realize, okay, things that were told to me aren't true. The things I thought were true are not true. Like, all my preconceptions, all these things. What made it really click for you, Bitcoin?
I think it was just the realization that like the numbers in the stock market go up, but you're not getting much wealthier, And I think that was kind of because that's what I did. I built companies and I stored my money in the stock market. And then I just kind of like, as I start learning about Bitcoin, then you realize like, man, like, why is it that the M2 money supply matches the S&P 500 returns, or when during COVID, they printed off all that money and you're like, if you were just saving your money, like in hard cash or in euros or whatever, they just devalue you, and then you start to realize like at a stroke of a pen, they can make you poor. And it's even that verbiage that should make somebody like raise their eyebrows, like the word poor, like, cause that's exactly what's happening. If you can buy less stuff than you used to be able to buy, you are getting poor. And the whole like trick that they play is that the number, I don't even know if it feels deliberate, but maybe it's not, who knows? But if you're watching the number on your screen go up, or there's people telling you, hey, put your money into the S&P 500, 30 years later, you'll have X amount of money. And then you have to realize that X amount of money won't buy you anything, like that's kind of on you to learn or for you to see, or just imagine the people who bought into this program 30 years ago. Now they're retired, they're on a fixed income and their cost of living keeps going up. And you're like, they did everything that they were supposed to do the right way, and they're struggling because the insurance is going up on their house, property taxes is going up on their house, the food's going up, everything's going up. So even if you get to the point where you're like, I'm going to press pause, or I'm finished working, I'm just going to live off of everything that I've saved or whatever, and you're on that fixed income, life is still getting more expensive. And then you start to realize like, okay, this is like a debt-based economy, and the debt has to keep like being the money has to keep being devalued in order to keep this whole thing afloat. If not, we collapse. So the monetary supply has to keep expanding, which means things have to keep getting more expensive, which means this game is never going to end. Yeah, and that like kind of made me open my eyes.
I think this is really the core of what we should try to convey to people in general, and we can do it in different ways. And I love how also what you said, like this should trigger you, right? Like, oh,
this should piss you off. Yeah.
Other people are doing something that makes you poorer, right? But that's why I also mentioned the red pill thing, because I've started to think over the past few months that. And some people don't like red pill, whatever, I don't care. But like, you have to take that before you can see the solution, right? Because it sounds so hard that, inflation is theft. People say that, right? Or debasing the money makes you poorer. Like those are all strong words and people don't like that. But once you accept that it's true, right? Because if you push more money units into a system, then you debase all the money units that were already there. Like that is eventually so basic. And I don't think there's any other way to explain that. Yeah, you can listen to Keynesian economics that say, no, this is good, velocity of money, etc. But if the productivity doesn't go up and more money units chase the same amount of goods and services, then all the prices, the amount of units you need to pay for these goods and services will go up. Like that's literally it. That's very basic. And if you say that to a Keynesian economic, they will start using gibberish and words and all these things. But don't listen to them. Just keep it basic. More money units equals less value per money unit already in existence, period. Right? So, that is it. And I mean, okay, so you knew that you were investing, you're doing different things. I saw you also have an online community that focuses on like investing, trading, financial education, etc. But after going down the Bitcoin rabbit hole, you sold all your real estate, stocks, cars, etc., and you went all in on Bitcoin. How did that transition go?
Okay, so here's the crazy thing. So I'm reading all this, I'm learning all this. So from 2021 to 2022. So you can like actually go search my tweets, and I go back to talking about Bitcoin from like 2017, 2018. But I always thought it was just a thing that you owned, right? I always thought it was just an asset that you owned, right? And that, you know, you want to own some of this, some of that, some of this, some of that, not realizing it was its own entire financial system, right?
Yes.
So I have this online community, and I'm teaching people and leading people, and we're trading and we're storing our money in the dividend paying stocks, and we're buying real estate and all this cool stuff. And then I think 2021, I'm like, yo, you guys, I'm going to be falling back from the stock market because, you know, I'm going deeper into this crypto thing, right? And notice I say crypto. So I'm like, I'm going deeper into this crypto thing because I think this is like where the world is headed. So then now I'm like, all right, let me go see what's really going on. Let's start with Bitcoin. So I start reading this Bitcoin thing, and I start reading about Bitcoin, learn about Bitcoin. And then I watched this series called The Hidden Secrets of Money by Mike Maloney. He's like a gold bug. And this series came out 10, maybe 12 years ago now at this time, right? And like he briefly mentions Bitcoin, but as a gold bug, you start to realize like, okay, the problems that he's identifying, that he's talking about, he's talking about things that are going on or have happened long before Bitcoin. So with Bitcoin in this equation or not, the problems still exist, right?
Yeah.
So then it start to hit me. I'm like, oh, the ability to create money and then force somebody else to use it is the root of all problems, right? Like that's kind of like the foundation of all this is that somebody is able to just create the money out of thin air and then force you to use it, right? So then once that hit me, then I go, okay, it's not crypto, because that's what crypto is doing. They're doing the same thing, right? Mm-hmm. So you're no different if you're, you know, using like your little scam coin. It's no different than the Federal Reserve creating more dollars. You just created your own money. Now, the only difference that I will give you is that you're not forcing anybody to use it, right? Yeah. They're using it by choice, right? So it's kind of like you know, like I'm smarter than you, so I'm going to manipulate you, create your own money, promise you that it's going to go up, and then you get taken advantage of. Hey, if you can't spot that by now, that's on you. So anyways, I started realizing, I'm like, oh, I thought I was going down a crypto journey, and now I realize it's Bitcoin, not crypto. Then everything that I would see Bitcoin maxis saying starts hitting me. I'm like, oh, those guys were right. Oh, they were right.
Like what? Like what? What do you think about?
Like how they would just like, bro, I go back to, hey, I'm getting into this stock, and you would look under it, and they'd be like, just put your money in Bitcoin, or it doesn't.
I did that today. Yeah.
And you're like, it doesn't matter what stock it doesn't matter what stock you pick if the value of the money is falling. I'm like, when I go search, I'm looking at Bitcoin maxis trying to tell me this stuff. Back in the day, like 2019, 2020, you know, like they've been trying to like, hey, Chris, check this out. Hey, Chris, you check this out, you know? And it's not like they were even getting on my ass because I was, you know, like I had Bitcoin, but they were like, no, you need to see the whole picture.
Yeah. So it's because people are so it's funny because the Bitcoiners are the same, but it feels like you have like secret glasses on, right? Like I literally just replied like 30 minutes ago to a tweet of a guy who said like, you don't need 15 stocks, you just need 5 good ones. And I just quote tweeted, yeah, or just Bitcoin and chill, you know, like, and then he goes off like, you should diversify, etc. But that's exactly why I wanted to start with your tweet of today. But it's like you see a secret, right? Because you know all these characteristics of, for example, stocks. You never truly own a stock. How are you going to move your stock to a different jurisdiction and stuff like that? Just already that done, you know, once you know the characteristics of Bitcoin.
Or how does the woman in Afghanistan buy Google stock? You know, you're like, okay, the stock market is cool if you're in the Western world. What about the rest of the world? So I'm like learning all this stuff. And then I realized like I'm at a crossroad with my own community. So one of two things need to happen, right? Like I can choose to pretend to still care about the stock market and still pretend to care about all these things going on in, you know, like the TradFi world. Or I can tell everybody, hey, I'm going the Bitcoin route and Bitcoin only, and you guys can follow me if you want to or not, you know. So at this time it's 2022 and the whole economy is getting clapped. Bitcoin fell below 20,000. So imagine everyone's in this trading community like, hey, what's the move? What's the play? How are we going to make money? And I'm like, buy some Bitcoin. And they're like, okay, bro, you keep saying the same thing. Buy some Bitcoin, buy some Bitcoin. I'm like, yeah, actually, you're going to thank me later, you know, like buy Bitcoin. So I'm going crazy trying to grab as much under 20,000 as I can. And I'm realizing that a lot of people are leaving, you know, the wealth squad because they're like, I didn't come here to hear about Bitcoin. And I start to feel like if I told you anything else, I would feel like I'm misleading you, you know, or I know I could kind of,
Yes.
yep. So I'm like, or I know I could kind of pander to you to keep you here, but I wouldn't sleep at night. If I told you anything wrong on purpose, I wouldn't go to sleep. You know, so when everyone's coming to me like, hey, what's the stock trade? Like, hey, you're good at trading stocks. So that's why I'm here. Why do you keep talking about Bitcoin? I'm like, bro, like, trust me on this, you know? And but I'm posting all the education too. It's not just the trust me bro thing. I'm posting all the education. So there's some people that are like, hey, I'm following you, man. Like I'm following along. But of course we have other traders in the wealth squad who are trading stocks to, you know, create money. And I'm like, hey, this is how we're gonna look at it. You follow these people so you can trade. You know, like there's traders in the wealth squad that will help you make money, store that money in Bitcoin. You know, so, but a lot of people left. So I watched the value, I mean, the member count fall in half, right? The market's getting
Fascinating.
cooked.
Yeah.
Everyone's turning their back on the market in total. And then I'm saying buy Bitcoin instead of saying, let's trade these stocks, you know? So I'm like, man, I know I'm doing the right thing. You know I can't lead people the wrong way, or I know I don't want to just tell people things just to say it, or I can't just give the traditional advice knowing that that's not the truth. You know, like I think if you, there's like this quote out there that says like, if you see fraud and you don't yell fraud, then you're fraud. And that's why I think about like the market. That's why I'm so strong. Like, hey, leave those stocks alone, bro. And it's nothing against Google or Apple or the best companies out there. It's just that they're denominated in dollars, you know? And Sailor had a good analogy. And like, if you're on the Titanic and the Titanic is sinking, which seat do you want? You know, like what room do you want? Like, does it matter that you booked the best room on the Titanic? You're sinking. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter if you have the best, if you've invested in the best stock in the S&P 500, if the value of the dollar is crashing itself, and it has to continue to crash. Now that made me think like, all right, I'm at a, you know, like I'm going one way or the other. And, you know, like integrity says that I'm going to speak up. And if you leave, you'll leave, but you'll see the results and you're going to watch. You're going to say, hey, I left this group because this guy was talking about Bitcoin and Bitcoin's down to 15 grand. And then when it's at 50 grand, you're like, maybe I was wrong, you know? So like the market proves who's right and who's wrong. And, you know, Bitcoin doesn't need me. It doesn't need you. Bitcoin doesn't need anybody. People will naturally find it because it's solving their problems, you know?
Yes.
I'm like, hey, the people who are not listening to what I'm trying to say or not listening to what other people are trying to say, they're going to watch all the Bitcoiners be proved right by the market because Bitcoin is this amazing new system that's an escape from the prior system. The same way that the Bitcoiners before me have been saying the same thing for, you know, the last 16 years, and they have to deal with all the haters and all the weird stuff, and the market just proves that they're right. So that was like, you know, an interesting perspective. And I guess I didn't realize how many people were actually listening until maybe like 4 months ago. So this is 2022 where I'm going crazy, like just buying every little dollar I can. And 2 months ago, or no, like 3 months ago, I posted, somebody was like, hey, bro, like when you bought those Bitcoin under 20K, I bought 13 of them. And I'm like, whoa, like doing some quick math. I'm like 13. Okay, we're up, like you're up like you know, whatever. I'm like, you're up like $1 million right now, bro. And then he's like, yes, I posted in my Instagram story. And then everyone just started tagging me like, yeah, bro, you're the reason why I have these 3 Bitcoin. You're the reason. And I'm realizing how many people actually listened. Maybe I was too focused on the few people that were like, hey, I'm out. But the people who are actually listening, and people are like, yo, I sold all my stocks when you went in. Like, thank you so much. These people are up 500, 600%. And if there's any stock I would have told you to go all in on, even the best ones, maybe have a 200% return from down there. These people are up 500, 600%. Their life has changed, and I'm like feeling good because I know, I did the right thing based on all the information that I had, and a lot of people followed me into the fire and out through the fire. So that was like a cool experience for me.
I love hearing that. I love hearing that, dude. And it's also, people leaving and being like, oh, I don't want to hear about this Bitcoin thing. You know what is so fascinating? Maybe you have a view on that. Like, I'm on Reddit a lot, also lurking a lot. I post some stuff from the podcast, but I lurk a lot in like the millennial subreddit, or like the fire subreddit, or like the stock subreddit. And there's many people that are really smart and analytical, but when you mention Bitcoin, they go like full reverse, right? They're like, no, this is a Ponzi or pyramid or whatever. And I'm always so surprised by the fact, because I think I'm an analytical and geeky, like research rabbit hole type person. And I think these people are the same.
Mm-hmm.
But in some way, Bitcoin is such a red flag. And maybe it's because, the whole FTX debacle before, or I don't know. But yeah, what are your thoughts on that? Because I'm just like, this is the most rational conclusion that I could have come to, basically. Yeah.
I feel the same. I'm like, I'm a normal guy. I'm a normal guy. I don't see why 70% of your net worth in Bitcoin's a big deal. I don't see it.
Yeah, that's what you said today.
Why I'm so embarrassed? So it goes back to the dogma thing, right? So, living with the reactions, or living with the ideas, or the information, the strategies, the everything that somebody else has said, right? And that's what it is. So imagine those people on Reddit. Chances are their grandfathers were benefiting from the stock market. You get what I'm saying? Like, chances are their grandfathers owned some real estate, and then and then their parents did, and now they're so you're challenging everything that they may have ever known. And then imagine you go to college and you learn about, econ, and you're learning about the Keynesian economics, and you're learning about all these things. So you're like, okay, everyone in the world, it's a concept that I call the loud minority. So you have everybody telling me that that I'm wrong, or this is how something works, and then actually it's the loud majority. I think you have this small group of people who keep screaming this thing, and I know it's going to collapse. Like, the price has gone up just a little bit, but I know it's going to collapse. If you kind of think about it, it's the same thing. Think about us Bitcoiners, and think about, let's say, like XRP Army, right? How we're like, yo, that's a scam, stay away, right? And they're like, no, bro, like, I've done my research, I blah, blah, blah. That's how people feel about us, right? They say, how are you saying leave the stock market alone? Bitcoin's a pyramid scheme. This is why, like, some magical guy just created it and disappeared. So it's kind of like, I think that people avoid challenging, everything that they ever been told, because I kind of think that society has rocked us to sleep to become sheep. Like you kind of like, why are you trying to create all this chaos? Like, man, just go along and get along, and it takes a few strong individuals to say, like, no, this doesn't make sense, but you see it play out in so many ways. Like, it happened during COVID with the vaccines. It happened, it happens with so many different things. And you realize, like, man, some people, they just want to stay in a very nice, safe world. And then here you come shaking up their world. Like, hey, everything that you're talking about right now, they're misleading you. And they're like, yeah, go away,
Yeah. It's true. For anyone who's in the XRP army, I don't know why, and you're listening, Google how they deleted the first 32,000 blocks, and like block 32,400 something is your Genesis block on the XRP blockchain. But anyway.
Yeah, you want to know what's crazy? I don't think people care. So I was starting to think.
I agree.
I'm like, okay, look, think about this. Someone out there is probably just has maybe $5,000-6,000 to invest. All these like other crypto influencers are saying this thing can go to $50. This coin over here can go to $100. You already missed Bitcoin, right? So they're like believing in it. Now, from an individual perspective, they're like, bro, I don't care that they deleted all these transactions. All I care about is that my coin's going to the moon. Right? So that's what they care about. They just care that their coin goes to the moon. So then I start to realize, like, okay, there's two different ways that we can get to the same conclusion when it comes to Bitcoin. If you want the best return in the market, it's Bitcoin. If you don't want the best return, if you want to put your money towards something that's helping humanity out, it's Bitcoin. Right? It's either way it goes. So I started thinking like, okay, to some of these people, you need to speak price because they want to know what's in it for them. Right? Because you're telling me to buy something that's 100,000 when I could buy this thing at $3 and it can go to $100.
Yeah.
And you're like, hey man, this thing's not going to outperform Bitcoin. Some people, they need to, what's in it for me? You're going to get wealthier. Or some people are like, no, because they're going to infiltrate the Swift banking, blah, blah. Hey, bro, you want to save as many people as you possibly can, Bitcoin, So I think some of those people just simply don't care about who created this, how they had a unfair start to the whole creation, how they created a bunch of the coins and kept them for them. Some people don't care. They just want to know what's in it for them. And to those people, I say, hey, if you think that this thing's going to outperform Bitcoin, why hasn't it? That's how I feel about all the crypto. Why hasn't it? Like all these people promise you that this thing's going to go up, this thing's going to go up, this thing's going to go up. All right, hit the all-time chart. Why hasn't it?
If you have your Bitcoin in self-custody, where are you keeping your Bitcoin seed words? For me, there's only one way, and it's backing up my seed phrase with stamp seed. It's a single durable plate without any parts or materials. Stamp your words into solid titanium, which is fire resistant, water resistant, and built to last. Unlike etching or engraving, stamp seed's patented tools help you to deeply stamp every letter for permanent readability, making it easy for you to protect your generational wealth. Don't risk losing your seed phrase on paper. Get a stamp seed plate for unmatched protection. You can use code BRAM, that's BRAM, for 15% off at stampseed.com. It's I think what you're describing, and it's been something I've been talking about in the past few episodes actually, is like financial nihilism. Like people know that their money is getting debased, but not in a conscious way, right? So they feel all these things about the future getting more uncertain because all these prices go up. People are thinking about not having children. They can't, there's 28-year-olds that live at home because they cannot find a home. Like all these things, right? And it feels like the velocity of the money, like saving is dead. Everyone knows that. And like the velocity of the money is only going up. So people like buy stuff. They don't even, they cannot afford to impress people that, they don't even like and stuff like that. They get into crypto, the gambling. And yeah, I don't know. I think we should talk about it, but I also think like you should experience it. I mean, I got into the whole ICO stuff, NFT stuff. Like I did all of that. And then eventually I just realized, no, this is nonsense. Like it's Bitcoin only. It's just a totally different thing. And I mean, you have to get burned to some degree, unfortunately, I'd say, to eventually get there or not. And then you're just like, F this, right? I mean, we see that now in this cycle, quote unquote cycle, like retail interest in Bitcoin, etc., is all time low. The number one app in the App Store is some meme coin trading app where you can buy meme coins with Apple Pay. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe this is just a sign of the times that we're in.
Yeah, I think one, you're right. It's a sign of the times. I think another thing too is people have some people are attracted to gambling. You get what I'm saying? Like some people are like, there are some people, let's say we have perfect money, right? Let's say everyone lives on the Bitcoin standard. There will still be people that go play the lotto. You know, so
Yeah,
these
sure.
people just found like they just found like
Ultra
a
Lotto.
digital, yeah, they just
Yeah.
found like the digital version of that. But as you get older and you start realizing like, hey man, rule number one is to not lose money, you know, or you don't realize like
Mm.
it's the same group of people going around launching coin after coin after coin after coin after coin, you know, and another thing is you see somebody make a lot of money off of one meme coin and you don't realize how many people lost money off of that. And that's another thing that people don't think about. So again, when it gets to social media, we kind of give a microphone to the one winner, right? Like you say, hey, I put 500 in and I made $1 million. That person gets a very loud microphone. That thing gets 10,000 retweets, and that encourages 10,000 people to go put $500 in, and all of them lose it, you know? And you don't realize, like, how do you think they made the money? You know, like your losses paid for their win, but everyone's thinking like, I can be the guy. I can be the guy. So yeah, I think that hopefully people mature enough to realize like this is a layup. This is the easiest way. Like imagine those people who were saying, I'm not buying at 70,000 because it's too high. It's the all-time high when we set a new all-time high and now we're at 105 and you're like, you realize you would be up, you know, like you realize you would be up by now. And it's the consistent distraction that's kind of holding you back from building as much wealth as possible. Like, and maybe it won't hit people until it gets to 500,000. And then they say, man, I remember thinking 100 was too high. Or maybe when we get to 250. And then also to the schemes and everything that are going on in the crypto world are very intricate, and I don't think that the average person understands that. You know, like I don't think that like when you go watch your favorite crypto YouTuber and they're saying, okay, here are my top 5 coins to get rich in 2025, you don't realize they've been paid to say that. You know, like you don't realize the foundation for stupid coin is gave them, you know, a couple $1,000s to say that. Like you don't realize how intricate this is. You think it's like, yeah, you know, you just buy it and it goes up. Like, no, bro, you're a victim. Like
Yeah.
you're a victim. You don't even realize it.
That's what I saw with people that commented on like the Hawk Tua coin, like the Hawk Tua girl, like her coin. Like, one, what do you expect? I'm sorry, but
Yeah.
anyway, what do you expect? It went up and then it went down, and people were like, "Huh? Why did it go down?" You know, and then so I think that attests to you. But what I do want to we should make a difference between, yes, I agree with you. I do also think that a lot of people do it in an unconscious way.
Yeah.
Right? Because they do, again, what I just said, like they do feel the problem, they feel the need that they should invest. You know, people are forced to invest or do things to make more money because they feel the pain of the debasement and the inflation, which is also a confusing thing because in real terms, it's probably way higher than what someone on the TV says,
Yeah.
right? So there's also, I think, just a struggle there to get there. And I mean, you just shared your story, and I think mine is similar. It took me some years.
What made it
to
click
actually.
for you? What made it click for you?
I think what I just shared, just at one point, I just realized, okay, so if the economy is basically like a closed system, it's like a ball. I saw it as like a cube. No, basically like a cube. And within that cube, everyone trades a certain amount of goods and services. If you inject more money, then yeah, just what I said, then the prices go up, and everything I have is devalued. And then I realized, but I'm not a trader guy. Like, I don't want to trade. I'm way too emotional, so I don't want to do it myself. And I always thought, okay, well, let's say I have 10K, right? And I put it in some ETF and it does 4% a year. I always thought, if I spend 4K, I'm going to make more than that money myself,
Yeah.
just doing something entrepreneurial. So I never went into like the stock market and stuff. So I was a saver. But when I realized that if more money gets created, then everything that I saved up until now eventually buys me less. And then I was like, holy fuck, like, no, I don't want to, I don't want to do that anymore. And I was already a bit into Bitcoin, but yeah, there was a time around those thoughts where I was like, okay, I need to dive into this financial and economics part further. That was actually, I'd say, the biggest part of my rabbit hole, because I think that is the reason of existence of Bitcoin. And then once you then basically go back to Bitcoin, dive deeper into Bitcoin, you realize that a lot of characteristics and like the way Bitcoin works actually substantiates that it's a better, monetary system, better model for a monetary system than the existing system. But before you can see that, you have to go into the current system, basically. And I think that's the hardest thing, as you said. Like, most people, they don't know. I mean, no one ever taught me.
Yeah, it's a deep rabbit hole, and it makes me think. So somebody had tweeted maybe 3 years ago, they were like, if people spent less time listening to Michael Saylor and more time learning about the Bitcoin network, then they would probably have a better understanding of Bitcoin. And I'm like, I was going on my Michael Saylor binges, and I'm like, let me see what they're talking about, like this whole Bitcoin network thing, right? So I started like learning about the actual network. I'm like, okay, what is like hash rate, and what does this mean, or what are nodes? And when I started to go down that rabbit hole, I realized, I'm like, whoa, like somebody, okay, let's think of like Satoshi, right? He would have had to understand economics, and he would have had to understand like computers, but at a level that's far, far, far. You have to be an A+ player in both areas to create this.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have to be like the Michael Jordan of like
of both.
Yeah. And because if you make the greatest thing known to man and then someone hacks it, then who cares?
Yeah.
You're like, whoa, like this is actually insane, man. And you start to realize like this could be hopeful. And then another thing that it started like catching on to me as I started listening to more and more people is that it brings out the best of people. Like I kind of never even ran into an annoying Bitcoiner, where I personally think 99% of the entire world is annoying, and then you meet a Bitcoiner and you're like, man, our values align, like. So I think Bitcoin's meant to find certain people, right? Or certain people are going like, hey, yeah, I do believe that in fairness, like I do believe this. I do believe that, we should look to the future and we should contribute. And that's how we get ahead, is by solving problems for other people. And, for not for it to get too deep, but I started realizing like there's a lot of other people who think like that. And then on the other side of things, you just have people saying like, what can I sell right now to get rich? And if that means I got to sell you some crap in order to extract some money out of you, I will, and you even see like, on Twitter, you see Bitcoiners doing that type of stuff. And like, it wasn't really, maybe they didn't really understand what they had in their hands, like, because they still have that temptation. And I heard like Jeff Booth say, like, once you go down this hole, you don't come out. Like you don't. My boy that me and him have the podcast together, he was like, hey, what do you think about creating a tool, and like selling it for like X amount of dollars per month so we can look at. I'm like, we can't, man. Like that stuff should be free. If we're telling people to go find Bitcoin and to like get into Bitcoin, and this is like, that's not something you sell to somebody. If everyone needed oxygen, I'm not selling oxygen. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah, no, dude, I love that. If you're up for this, I'd love to take this exit, because I wrote some stuff out about this to chat with you about. Because
yeah, let's go.
one step back to when you realize the profoundness of what this is, right? So think about how to break it down. But the thought I was thinking about was, this is an unstoppable thing. And that is what a lot of people need to realize. This is literally just computer code. It's ones and zeros, right?
Mm-hmm.
The whole, everything that is Bitcoin is letters and numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And, all the private keys, all the addresses, literally everything is just text. And when you download the whole time chain, the whole ledger, 600 gigabytes, literally text. Okay. And so once you realize that this is an entirely new system, and that all the people that are working together all the people that want to get value from adopting this monetary network, they understand, and that's what you just said, but then like in the interpersonal space, they understand that you can only get value from it once you contribute value to it, right? Like once you run a node, once you have like a solo miner or whatever, like once you add to the decentralization and the security, that's when you can really benefit from this system. And that is, I love the trustless characteristic of Bitcoin, because it means that I don't have to trust someone else. I just have to add my thing, and I can trust that others will do the same, because I know that there's no other way for them to get value from this network if they don't. So the incentive structure is so aligned that me talking about this benefits you, and you talking about it benefits me. And so literally the example that you gave, the incentive for you to make something free is higher than to like guard this knowledge and be like, oh, I'm the expert, pay me X amount per month or whatever, and then I'll give it to you. You're like, that path is longer than just giving it away, basically.
Yeah.
Right?
You know what? I've seen this. This really hit me recently, how Bitcoin creates a difference in like the two systems. So I made a video basically explaining how I structure my portfolio, or how I look at my investment portfolios now that I'm a Bitcoiner versus how I used to. So I just had like a little drawing on my phone that I just drew, like when you screenshot, you can draw things with your finger or whatever. So I posted on Twitter and I said, hey, can someone make this a graphic? And I'm going to make it a video. Right. So the Bitcoiners hop in right away, and they just turn it into a graphic, right? And I'm like, okay, they caught on to what I was asking for right away, because you create it for me for free. I make a video which you would learn for. We just exchanged value without exchanging any money, right? So people started contributing. I'm like, this is cool. Like, I'm going to help you. I'm going to help the community. You're going to help me help the community. It's even trade, right? So once the graphic design Twitter part of Twitter, once they caught on to the tweet, they start saying, hey, DM me so I can tell you my rates. DM me so I can tell you my rates, right? Like, hey, if you want me to work, you have to pay me for it. And I'm like, fair enough. But I think it's crazy how the Bitcoiners caught on right away. Like, the reason why you're not going to charge me is because I'm going to make the video for free. You make this thing for free. I make the video for free. Everybody watches the video for free. The whole network gets smarter or better, or, it's more useful for everybody. And you start realizing that, like, in the fiat world, we just create things just to sell them. And it's not actually making anything better, anybody better. And that like kind of blew my mind. I'm like, they instantly understood, because usually I would never say, hey, do this for free. Like, hey, can somebody do this for free? I would always say, like, hey, if you do this for me, I'll send you some money, right? And I'm like, I just put it out. I'm like, hey, can you guys make this for me? Like, help me out so I can help everybody out. And they did it right away. I'm like, dang, there's like this understanding right away, like, help me, help us, like certain things don't need to be behind some type of paywall.
I love it. Literally, I have a graph that I made on my phone when I was in the plane a few months ago. I'm literally going to do this, what you just said, because it's a graph on this, like, you have this Apple some tool on Apple, like where you can make like graphs or like these little images, like just like squares and circles and whatever. And I made something there, but I'm just going to tweet now. I made this image on my phone that shows the Bitcoin paradigm shift. Is there anyone? Is there a Bitcoiner out there that could
Are
make
you tweeting this like right
this?
now?
Yeah. That could make this nicer. I'll make a video about it with the new graphic.
Yeah.
Thanks. Okay, let's see.
And it's pretty cool because you think about it, you're just using the resources in the community to help the community, But in the
fiat and everyone helps each other. Yeah.
Yes. In the fiat world, you don't think about community. You think about me. If I'm getting up out of this chair to do anything, you need to pay me. Me.
Yeah. And that's a big insight as well. Fiat is a zero-sum game, and Bitcoin is a mutually beneficial game.
Yep. Yeah.
That's the big difference.
I think it's a positive-sum game. If I get better, you get better.
Yeah.
Right. Even the people
exactly.
you don't like, or the people who don't like you, like, hey, bro, like as long as we're agreeing on this thing, like that we'll get better.
That's the point of Bitcoin.
Yeah, and it also makes you think, like somewhere I read, like when two groups of men who don't know each other cross paths, usually the results are either trade or war, and you're like, well, Bitcoin makes trade a lot, like it makes it better, like now we have something that to trade with, or something. We don't have to try to like harm each other for that. And I just start thinking like all the ways that fair money would help the world, and that's why I don't mind like sitting around just like, hey, I'm pumping gas right now. I had an idea about Bitcoin. Let me just make a video really quick. Or I'm going on a walk. Now I just can throw up a video and I know that it's helping somebody open their mind, like the same way that people made free videos to help me open my mind. Or I even think about someone like Michael Saylor, right? Like, I think about Michael Saylor and I think about Elon Musk a lot because I'm like, these guys are like, they're billionaires, right? So what Elon Musk does is it makes you realize, like, what are the other billionaires doing? Like this guy is like solving all these problems. He's doing all this stuff. And it makes you think like, okay, what are all these other billionaires doing if Elon's doing all this? But then with Michael Saylor, you're like, where can you listen to a billionaire speak about money for 1,000 hours plus? It almost doesn't exist, like, and I'm not talking about like you interview a billionaire and they say, yeah, just believe in yourself. And, when you have a dream, go for it. He's like, no, this is all the ways that money erodes. These are all the ways that property erodes. This is that. And you're like, this guy's just like sitting here yapping for free. Like, this is amazing. Like, bro, people would have to pay hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars to hear a billionaire speak specifically about money, and I just think it's cool.
I agree.
People kind of show you like how far and it makes me think like, man, I'm not about to charge people for much, if people way wealthier than me talking about this stuff,
Yeah. I want to tell you something funny because we have like 500 people watching us live right now because I didn't change the settings, so we've been live on X the whole time with a different title. So I love that. But it's funny because Gary, who's my editor, is texting me, and he listened to all my podcasts, and then he reached out and was like, hey, I'm a video editor, I'm an audio engineer, I'd love to help you level up the podcast. So can I do a few episodes for free? And then if you like it, maybe we can work together. And we've been working together for 20 episodes now. And it's really great. Like, we are really like doing it together now. And we see like subscribers going up, views going up, like all these things. And it's just so much fun. Like, we didn't meet in real life. We text every day, we call, and he was just like, yeah, I just really want to contribute to this thing. And so, I totally understand what you're talking about, because this is what it's about.
Isn't it cool that because you guys will just have like a understanding, like the market is going to pay us, we don't have to sit and nickel and dime each other. Like the market's going to take care of us. If I believe Bitcoin is going up forever, and what do I look like? Hey, bro, can you Venmo me $4 for, half of today's lunch? Like, man, the market's going to give me my money back.
Yeah.
It's going up forever. It's going to reprice everything. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
sending you an invoice because I paid for dinner. Like it just like. Or at least that's how I think about it. And I noticed also it made me closer with my friends, man, because what happened.
That's actually what I wanted to ask you. Like, how do you experience that? Like talking to, you're a millennial as well. Like, how do you feel about talking to our generational peers? But, go ahead.
Okay, so I think the millennial generation is now at the age where we kind of understand who's going to go do something with their life and who's not. Right. So, like when you're 20 years old, you're like some of your friends that you may have known from like high school or whatever, maybe from college, like some are going to party, some of them are going to do whatever, but you don't really understand how life is going to like play out. But now we're at the age where we're like, okay, I know who's serious about life and I know who's not. And the people who are serious about life, like I'm going to continue to have a friendship with them. Because like, hey, we can play, we can travel, we can go do all these things. We have to take care of business. We have to take care of our families, So one, my friends are already vetted in that way, right? So these are already the type of people who are going to take care of business. So one of my friends, for example, when we went to, or he came out here to Europe with me and we were just like riding around and I'm like, bro, like, this is actually like blowing my mind, and if you have any respect for my like intellect, you would listen to me, and I had to just like tell him like, yo, this is what's going on. Like, don't you think it's crazy that we have to go work for something that somebody somewhere just prints? Like, don't you think that's crazy? He's like, yeah, man. And then another one of my close friends, he just got like, not just, but he kind of hit his stride with trading options. Right. And he was showing me his whole method. He was so excited to show me. He flew out to Houston. He was hella excited to tell me about this. And he showed me like on a Webull where you can trade options, like it will show you a calendar, how many days that you are positive, how many are green days, how many are red days, how much money you made. This dude was on a streak of like, I don't know, maybe like 15, 16 straight trading days of just green. Like every day he's just like getting to it. And I remember him like sitting in the living room and it's really early in the morning and he's about to like start his like, process his prep for the market. And I'm just looking at him and I'm like, hey, bro, nothing you're talking about is as important as Bitcoin. And I'm like, I do not mean to sound like an asshole. I'm happy for you. But bro, the world is not what we think. He's like, what are you talking about? And I explained it to him. And I'm like, I'm very happy. I'm glad that you're hitting your strides trading, but nothing is more important than this. Like we're sitting on a sinking boat, bro. Like, and you telling me that you're upgrading your, like the sailor analogy, you telling me that you're upgrading your hotel room on a sinking boat, it's not going to help us. Are you telling me that you unlocked some new clothes on a sinking boat? Like, bro, we're headed down. Like, this is serious, But anyways, it made me think too, like if my friends aren't open to this information, then I'm going to question my judgment of friendships, like because these are the guys that I've already hand selected, So like if your friends are all athletes and then you say like, hey man, I just, found out some new information about food or nutrition, they've already kind of been like, they should be into this type of stuff because they're athletes. It's not like I know I have some friends that don't care nothing about this stuff and I'm not even going to try to talk to them. But these were the friends that were like hand selected. Like, hey, when I have ideas about the economy, about the market, about money, these are the people that I hit up, and everyone was open to it. And then like sometimes they would just randomly FaceTime me or my younger brother too. And they would just randomly FaceTime me and be like, bro, I just learned that the IMF did this and France did this to Tanzania. And you're like, yes, bro, I'm telling you, this is crazy. And it just made us all grow closer, man. It's pretty cool. It's been a pretty cool experience with my friendships like that.
I love that. I love that. Yeah. So let's cross the bridge to this more spiritual or self-development path, because I think how you see it is Bitcoin is a tool for saving, to really grow your wealth, your purchasing power. But I think you also kind of see it as a philosophical shift, right? Like being more sovereign, thinking for yourself. You just talked about like building this group of like-minded individuals, kind of paying it forward. Doing this positive, participating in a positive sum game. Like, how do you think the existence of Bitcoin and I mean, you have kids to how will that change like their personal finance and like life stories or life choices, you think?
Well, okay, so let's like even before Bitcoin, just the idea of like taking care of your children's future, for example, right? Because you understand, like if you've ever been broke and now you're not broke, you understand like just getting out of survival mode calms you down. Right? Like, you when you were younger, you go outside and all you have is $20, and all of a sudden you have a
Yes.
$20 problem right in your face. You're like, damn, there goes all my money. Like it's almost like you're like walking on eggshells, and you're like, man, I hope nothing goes wrong because all I got is $20 and a $20 problem appears, And then as you like start to seek abundance and you escape survival mode, you can make better quality decisions. Or you saying like, I don't need to do what's best I don't need to do what feels good for right now, for this very moment, if it's going to hurt me in the future. So Bitcoin put a bigger emphasis on that. Like, I know I can take care of the future. I know my future will be okay. Therefore, I don't have to make any stupid decisions right now, or like I can kind of relax, or it just slowed the world down for me. Like, today, the most important thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take my son to school and I'm going to read a book, but it used to be wake up and trade. What's in the market? How can I get money right now out of the market? And what's so crazy is like my entrepreneur journey, my trader journey, all that stuff. Like, I was making a lot of money, right? And for you guys watching this, and I know you guys, like, if you guys know who I am and you've seen my journey, like, I never felt like I had enough money. Like, I always felt like there was something chasing me, right? So I always felt like I had enough money, like I didn't have enough money. And which is crazy because I've made millions of dollars, like I've made millions. Like, imagine you get to one, you say, hey, when I get to 5, I'm going to be all right. And then you get to 5, you're like, no, I need to get to 10. And you get to 10, you're like, okay, but my kids are going to, they're going to grow older and they're going to need some things. I got to get to 15. I got to get to 20. And it just keeps going. Life should not feel like that at all, man. It shouldn't feel like that at all. So, but you realize it's because your money is losing its value. That's why it feels like that. Because you can't say, I can't go to sleep comfortably at night saying like, okay, I'm going to put away $200,000 for my son. And when he's 30 years old, he'll be able to use that to buy a house. $200,000 might buy that dude a bracelet in the future. Like that might
probably, yes.
Like think about if your grandpa saved $5,000 for you. That was a lot of money in his time. That might get you a nice suit now. That might have got him a house and it gets you a suit. So you start to realize like, man, like it makes you feel uneasy about the future. So it just changes the time preference. That's what Bitcoin does. It changes the time preference for me. It slowed everything down and it made me focus on quality, and maybe it was me coming of age thing too, like me becoming a parent, become a little older, like I'm not in my 20s, like just wilding out. Now I got to think of the future. I got to think for, these youngsters. And I think Bitcoin it slowed everything down for me. And you're like, man, like once you don't have that need to like, I gotta hustle and bustle all day, or I gotta do this, I gotta do that. You're like, man, sometimes you just kick back and laugh, bro. And life ain't about having 35 hustles like I used to think it was. Like I used to have like 8 businesses and 9 rental properties and all this. So from sun up to sundown, I'm just on my phone working and working and working and working. And you're like, man, Bitcoin changed all of that, like, because it's producing returns and growing your wealth at a rate that I couldn't have beat Bitcoin the last 2 years trying to trade. Well, and even if you could, here's another thing too for the traders out there. So think about like all your money in a big pie, right? You're not trading all of it. You're trading a fraction of it. So hypothetically, if you have $100,000, you're not trading the whole 100,000. You might trade maybe 50% of it. So let's say you're trading 50K and you have a 30% return on the 50K, right? Or maybe out of that 50K, some of it's in long-term investments, some of it is in trading. So maybe you're actually trading 25K and you have a 20% return on that. And you're like, but if you were, once you understand Bitcoin, you put the whole 100,000 into Bitcoin, right? Like hypothetically, you put the whole 100,000 into Bitcoin, and you have 100% return for the year. Now you have 200K. Then the next year you have 100% return, and you're like, wait a minute, like all I've been doing is kicking back, like I've just been kicking back. So like I was saying earlier, for the people who want to just, I don't care what the world's talking about, I just want to get wealthier, Bitcoin. If you want to actually solve some problems and help the world become a better place, Bitcoin, so it really like slowed me down, and then it also let me like find what's important. What can I tell people? What can I actually help people with that's going to change like their mind for the long term, because just handing someone $20, just handing someone $100, it doesn't do them any good. You got to teach them how to fish. And it like allowed me to like, hey, go focus on bigger problems, And all that was validated when all these people were telling me like, hey, I followed everything that you said, or I've read all these books. And you run into somebody playing basketball and they're like, hey, bro, those books you posted on Instagram, I read all of them. And you're like, whoa. And you're like, yeah.
Fire.
Like one of the guys I play basketball with every morning, this dude had like a twirl business. He sold 3 cars and bought 2 Bitcoin. And then Bitcoin had 100% year. And he's like, yeah, just, he just hangs out with his girl. And I'm like, bro, this is amazing, actually,
Yeah.
I
love it.
That, man, but yeah.
No, that's your job here. That's your job. No, what I love, what I really, really love is that I have the exact same experience. Made me more laid back, made me more chill, made me way less uncertain about the future, made me like I really, and that's so funny. I say this a lot, but I considered myself like really like a control freak before, and that has brought me a lot. Like I'm very structured and I plan everything and I have an Excel for my money and stuff like that. But it also blocked me from doing some things, like not taking some chances and stuff like that, right? So there's always, I think, whatever your pattern is or like how you act, like there's always a good side and a bad side to it, right? But what I said before about just the conclusion that I like how I found Bitcoin or really went all in on Bitcoin is just rational thinking. And so for me, like being all in on Bitcoin is like the most rational, low risk thing that I could ever do to lower the uncertainty towards my future that everyone has. And therefore, I'm really living in the now. Like I have the time and space to think and try and create and fail and just spend time with the people that I want to spend time with. And that there's nothing more important than that. And then I think also the amount of money or wealth you need starts to fade, because I think eventually it is way less than you would think what you would actually need. Mm-hmm. Just to create or just lower the uncertainty towards your future, I think that's enough. Just free up a little space and time in the now. That's more than enough, and you don't need millions of dollars for that. By the way, I want to emphasize that, like that. Yeah,
you don't. And so that's the crazy. That's how caught up in the fiat world I was, where I thought I did. I thought I did, and even when I had it, I felt like I didn't have enough. And one of my close friends, he got his first Bitcoin, and he has like a decent paying job. And he's just like, bro, like I feel very smooth and comfortable. And I'm like, isn't that crazy how it wasn't about the number at all? Like it wasn't about the
Yes,
number.
yes.
It's about living in a system that takes care of the future, like, and that's why I feel like Bitcoin's inevitable, because enough people are going to want to feel that. Enough people are going to feel that, and they're going to speak about it, and they're going to say, well, all I need to do is download Bitcoin Core and run a node so I can help this network after it's helped me all this time. Of course I'm going to do that.
That's easy.
So,
That's the easy part.
yeah. And
Dude,
I'm
but
just
this
like,
is it.
oh, yeah.
Yeah. No, but this is it. Just less anxiety. Just fiat
Yes.
money induces like perpetual anxiety towards the future, which
Yes.
makes you make dumb decisions in the now. That's, by the way, well, not necessarily that is proven, but they have proven that if you have money problems, whatever the money problems are for you, by the way, there's different degrees, but just the experience of money problems gives you a certain type of stress that makes you make bad decisions. So the
Yeah.
stress doesn't even help you get out of the situation.
You're distracted. That's the crazy part. It's like, that's what it is. It's like everything, or you're real fidgety. I also think that this kind of goes along with those people that feel like they need to be doing something, like, because Bitcoin has like a lot of boring periods, right? And people feel like they need to be doing something, and they end up doing the wrong. This is why people are like, hey, maybe I should sell the top and then try to buy back in lower. And you're like, you still need to slow down. Like in the fiat world, doing nothing is a bad thing, like, because
Yes,
it's
yes,
grind, it's hustle, it's get up early, it's do this, it's do that. So I think sometimes I'll see like some of my Bitcoin friends on Twitter, when Bitcoin's being boring, then they're like, let me just try this meme coin thing out. And you're like, hey, slow down, bro. Like, let you slow, like the future's gonna be okay. And then after they go through, like a few months of it, then they're like, I get it, bro. Like I don't need to be doing. So I
hmm,
provide value to the world through my work. I store my money in Bitcoin. I go enjoy my life. It's that simple. But I feel like on the other side of things, in the fiat world, we think life can't be that simple.
yeah.
Like you
It's
gotta
like you
have.
cannot allow yourself,
Yeah, it
like you,
changed my relationship with rest, right? So maybe about like a year ago, I was thinking, I was like, you know what? Rest is an asset. And I always thought it was a liability. Like I always thought it was, I like naturally don't sleep a lot. So I'll be like, man, I need to be doing something. I need to be doing something. And then I was like, bro, I feel like I'm just like a lion taking a nap. If I need to take a nap in the middle of the day, I'm going to do that. If I'm sleep extra time, like I'm like, I need to charge up because I need to make the best decisions possible. So my mind needs to be charged. But I was thinking, I'm like, the fiat world even corrupted my view on sleep. And you're like, bro, this is one of the most natural things that we have as humans, you know what I mean? Like, or just as living species, is that we need to sleep. I'm like, you know how far screwed up your mind has to be to think that sleep is a bad thing, but you don't realize that because everybody else thinks like that too.
I think this is a great bridge to like the spiritual component I'd love to talk about, because yes, I think the fiat money keeps you in the physical world, right? Like, because what you said, you need rest. Sleep is part of rest, but just rest, I call it like space and time to just do nothing, to do the introspection, right? And so to go inside, and I'd say like the whole physical world is everything outside, all the mental stuff, all the, ego stuff, or, yes, you see like 3 other guys grinding and you're like, I'm a loser if I don't do anything. So I also need to do something, right? So you identify with what other people are doing, or you measure yourself by that. Whereas the inward journey is, that's now the understanding that I have, and I think a task that I'll talk for myself, that I have, is like, you need to like blend the spiritual part of yourself with the physical part of yourself,
Yeah.
right? Like that is the challenge that everyone has. But if you're constantly stuck in this physical world, then you will never get to the spiritual journey, basically.
Yeah.
Right? And so just having the feeling or the idea of, I have more space and time, I'm more relaxed, like your friend, you shared about your friend who has a job, but maybe he's just like, okay, it's a job, it's a function, whatever, I don't really care about this company, but I do it because XYZ, then you can just be more directional with whatever you put your time and energy into. And that gives you, then the space to do the inward journey.
Yep. I completely agree. I think it's the whole concept of things will be okay.
Yes.
Right? Like trying to get someone to sit down and just like focus on the future if they don't think that they're going to be okay right here, right now, But if you do believe things will be okay, then you can like go to the next level, right? You can say, okay, well, it's kind of like, I think, the phrase or the term that I've heard it called is like your monkey mind. So like your mind's just chasing all these thoughts all the time, all these thoughts. And whenever you do something that brings you to the present moment, right, that's kind of like where you want to be. So this would be like when you take a shower, like, everybody says, I have great ideas in the showers, because you're not chasing a million thoughts. You're right there in the moment, very little distraction. Same thing when you work out, when you feel that pump, you're right there in the moment, And I'm starting to feel like Bitcoin's turning my life into right here in the moment, and you said this earlier, and I completely, it's like right here in the moment. Like my son's like, oh, let's play Fortnite. Okay, let's play it. Versus like, no, I gotta do this, I gotta do this, I gotta, because I gotta make money, and and you're like, man, let's do it. Or you want to play basketball 1-on-1? I'm gonna beat you. Let's go. Like it just slows you down, man.
Yeah, that's really nice. So did you also experience like going on a more spiritual path?
Yeah.
Eventually, or is that, is it more present in your life?
Yeah, and it is, and it makes, it makes me, it made me give like a deeper respect to religion, because I call myself not religious, and I'm like, this must be what it feels like for those people who are strong in their religion to have a North Star, they have a North Star. They have like, hey, I'm going to be all right because of this, or I'm going to be all right because of that. And you're like, wow, like now I can see the benefit of, like opening your heart to things and opening your spirit to things. So yeah, it sent me down, bro. I want to say it's a spiritual journey. It's also helped me start to realize too about my health, right? Like then you start to think like, should I wake up and be eating candy? Like that's not really going to serve me like in the long run. It's just helped me in so many different ways. And I would attribute it all to like, things are going to be okay,
Love that. Yeah, I think it's that. That's I'm gonna remember that. Yeah. So yeah, whatever you think gets you to the everything will be okay, but that is the soothing.
Yeah, it's
kind of like anchor points or something.
Bro, and think about it. Even that guides you when the fiat price of Bitcoin goes down, right? And you're like, if you truly understand or somewhat understand, right? Because I don't think I completely understand Bitcoin, but I think I'm, along on my journey. But when you go, I get to buy more of this for a cheaper price, things are gonna be okay. Like I actually like these.
Yeah. Definitely gonna be okay.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
because that's kind of like the main thing that freaks people out is like the volatility, right? So people go, it's too volatile,
Mm.
it's too volatile. And you go, yeah. And as soon as you start to get a good understanding, you're gonna want that volatility. You'll be like, yeah, I need it to go down. Let it go down. Like
Yeah.
I've been making tweets saying like your mind knows Bitcoin's going up, right? Your heart wants it to go up, but your pockets need it to go
Yeah.
down, right? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
but imagine like if you didn't have that things are going to be okay, or like this is going to play out in a very good way, then you would kind of start to panic if things go down, Like imagine you just pick a random crypto token or you pick a random stock and the price falls 50%. You might be like, yeah, I'm getting out of this because I don't know if they can recover,
Yeah.
And
That's
now I'm
definitely
yeah. And now you're starting to realize
that's anxiety inducing, dude.
yeah. And now like when the price of Bitcoin goes down, I'm like, what like you guys are giving us a better opportunity to get more? Are you crazy? Which
Yeah.
you know what? I kind of wanted to talk about this too. Like it makes me think that we won't have these very large pullbacks like we used to, right? And I'm thinking, I think like BlackRock or MicroStrategy, or when the nation states start buying, that it sets a floor price, right? Because I can't
I
imagine.
agree.
Yeah, it sets a floor price and then it creates more stability, right? And then think like maybe we slowly, even if we don't pump as much, but like let's say we just 50% ARR our way to, up to $10 million or whatever. What's going to happen is by time people realize like, oh, those 70% drops are gone, those 80% drops are gone. Maybe this isn't as scary as I thought. Let me start buying into it, but this will be $2 million a coin, So I think that the people who took the time to do their research and survived all that, those storms, they're getting exactly what they deserve, right? They deserve everything for being early, for doing your research, for hodling. Like you deserve everything. Like one of my friends I was telling you about, when Bitcoin hit 100,000 for the first time, he FaceTimed me. He didn't even say anything, and I didn't say anything to him. And we were just staring at each other on FaceTime. And he goes, you know what, bro? Everybody's getting exactly what they deserve right now. He's like, there's some people that are salty that they missed the bus. There's some people celebrating. And there's some people been holding since $13, I'm like, you're right, bro.
I love that. Yeah, I have the same with. Actually, today I called a friend couple, and I was with them in upstate New York, and we called today, and first thing they say is like, I still love Bitcoin. Thank you for putting me on the Bitcoin. That's the first thing he said. He's like, you're my Bitcoin guy, and then I think like that's so funny. Like it's so funny that yeah, dude, that's amazing. Like I mean, like you said, like you got messages. I'm getting messages sometimes. Like that's literally the only thing that I care about. Like it's just so. It still stuns me that just us talking about this could reach one person that is like, hey, these guys trigger me into like starting to do the work, and then maybe they message us later and be like, thank you. And then that is just like the fact that we can do that is mind-boggling. It still surprises me, and I'm so grateful when people send messages like, hey, you helped me. And I mean, like you said, you watched other people before and you had the same, and I did the same. Like that is how it works. It's like a chain of knowledge that just goes and goes and goes. And I mean, that's the best feeling ever. Yeah.
Bram, think about this, bro. You might help orange pill somebody, and then they might give you credit for it, and then they'll turn and then they'll teach their significant other, who will then teach their cousins, who will then teach their friends, who will then, and you're like, this thing is a gift that keeps giving, like,
Yeah, I love it.
I think about all the podcasts I listen to, all the books I've read, and I'm like, now there's so much information. I can't even tell you specifically where I got this from or this from. It's like everyone's just piling into, this is how Bitcoin helped me as a nurse. This is how Bitcoin helped me,
Yeah,
I was
exactly.
a electrician. This is how I escaped, I don't know, Venezuela's hyperinflation. This is how and you're like, whoa, this is literally recreating an entire system that's fair for everybody. And for the most people, or most people that probably follow me, they don't care about any of that at first. They just think like, bro, I'm just trying to get some money. Like I'm trying to get somebody, but then you're like, yeah, but once you learn why, like, why do you need to get? How come you don't live in the same house that your grandpa lived in? Because everything got inflated up. You couldn't afford the property taxes. He had to sell. The money is worthless now that he sold them. And you just start thinking about things, because before you appreciate the solution, you have to understand the problem. And once you understand the problem, at first it pisses you off. You're like, whoa, like this is how the world works. And then
that ain't cool. No.
you're like, bro, this is how the world works. And then when you start seeing all the success from all the different stories of people leaving that system and coming into this system, it's like watching nature heal, like you're like, whoa, this is like crazy. People are changing their lives, like changing friendships, changing relationships, making everything better, like, and you're like, I know you came for the money and you stayed for the revolution, like the saying goes.
Exactly.
And I see a lot of people experiencing that now.
Yeah. Yeah, I absolutely love that. I love that you can have an impact, whether big or small. And again, I think you said that correctly. Like also for whoever, right? Like it's not about getting rich. Like really not. Like the wealthiness part is not about rich part, or like it's about what we just talked about, just having the time, focusing on yourself and your family and all these things. Like that is eventually what you want. And whether you're a nurse or a writer or a lawyer or whatever like that, we're not talking about what people do, right? It's whatever you do, whatever you like to do or would want to do, that you create value, earn a reward, you save in Bitcoin, and however much you have doesn't matter. Just saving in a better money gives you this space and time to enjoy or focus on something that you really, really want to focus on, or
bro,
like something you really want to enjoy.
Want your airplane pilots to be trading stocks on the side. Hey, bro, you be the best pilot you could be so we get here safely,
Exactly. Exactly.
And I think that's another way that it's going to heal society, is that people we'll get back to having subject matter experts. Right? Because if I can just focus on my job, and that's it, I don't need to do 30 different things, I'll be the best structural engineer I could possibly be, or I'll be the best pilot I can possibly be. Like, but when you're like, I just do this little pilot thing on the side, but I really want to, I don't know, flip real estate. You're like, whoa, hold on now. Maybe you shouldn't be flying this plane, but I think that's what will happen is that if you're not stressed about money, you'll go do things you love. And then naturally you're going to want to be good at those things.
Yes.
And then, that in turn, everyone, if the nurse is focused on being the best nurse, then, the pilot's focused on being the best pilot, and the plumber's focused on being the best plumber, then the whole world heals, and they don't have to stress about money because it's being taken care of by Bitcoin repricing the fiat world.
I really hope this lands with some people, because I 100% agree. This is eventually what it's about. Let's wrap up with my last two questions, because we're talking about this, right? We're like picturing the future, but how can people approach getting into studying now? Like, what are you think kind of like the mental barriers that are preventing people from like embracing Bitcoin? Is that coming to terms with the red pill that we talked about in the beginning, or is there anything else that comes to mind?
The first thing I would say is that, yeah, you have to be ready to embrace that you've been lied to and manipulated, right? And that you might be a good person, you just do what you're supposed to do and mind your business, but other people have intentions for you, and you become the puppet in other people's games. Right. And in that, you just become a number to someone else, or you just become a product to someone else. So, yes, you embrace that this thing should piss you off first, because you're going to go learn how the whole system works. And you're going to realize that there's a lot of good people that have been taken advantage of, and their time has been robbed from them. So I would say start by identifying the problem, right? And the problem is money. Right. So I always say that people know how to make money, but they don't understand money. So you want to start with like, what is money? Money versus currency. Who creates our money? Go learn about the Federal Reserve. Go learn about all the central banks. Go learn about those things and be prepared to be pissed off. And then once you kind of have a solid understanding for the problem, then you start looking into the solutions. So what I would even say is, I mean, the people watching this are going to be into Bitcoin, but I would say start with the solution could be anything, right? Like your basket of solutions, start with the biggest basket you can possibly find. Is investing in real estate the solution for you? You go find that out, right? Like you do your research. Process of elimination, start with real estate, the stock market, crypto, Bitcoin, I don't know, trading Persian rugs, and then do a process of elimination, and last man standing. You only want the best. And if you come to the conclusion that there's something out there that's better than Bitcoin, well, you won't come to that conclusion. But if hypothetically, if you did, but start with understanding the problem, one, and then two, a process of elimination. So if you say, okay, I understand what these Bitcoin guys are saying, but I've always wanted to own rental properties, and then start with, okay, what are the pros and cons? I always wanted to invest in the stock market. Okay, cool. What are the pros and cons? Right. And what will happen is you'll start to understand and appreciate the solution, because you're like, whoa, this thing is like way deeper than I thought. This is way cooler than I thought. So that's what I would say. I would say start by learning about the problem. And the problem is we have broken money.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that's really good advice. Eventually, I love what you said. Comparing also, right? Like this is, I think, what Saylor also did, right? That he talked about that a lot. That he had cash, and he was like, "What do I do with this? Cash as a company. Like, do I give dividend? Do I buy other companies? Do I do some R&D? Do I buy gold? Like, what do I quit? What do I do?" And then basically he started putting all of that stuff together, and his conclusion was Bitcoin, of course.
Bram, I was going to say, why I think you should compare things? Because then you stop listening to other people, right? Because this is what happens in the whole crypto space. People will tell you, you've missed the boat on Bitcoin, so why don't you buy X coin or Y coin or Z coin, right? And then you're starting to think like, okay, well, yeah, I'm not really in it, Bram. I'm not really in it for this kumbaya stuff, bro. I'm trying to make some money, right? So you're going to listen to this guy tell you like, yeah, why are you listening to Bitcoin? You already missed it. Invest in this and you'll have faster returns. But as you start to compare it, you just start looking at charts, and then you realize nothing is beating Bitcoin. Or people will use very weird specific charts in order to prove that this crypto has moved faster than Bitcoin. So here's my thing. Let's say we're in the third week of January. Let's say for the first 2 weeks of January, hypothetically, Bitcoin has tripled. And then for the third week, it has not moved. And all the other crypto coins did not move for 2 weeks. And then in the third week, they went up 50%. What people in the crypto space are going to tell you is, see, if you were to put your money into into X coin 1 week ago, your money would have went up 50%, but in Bitcoin, it would have been flat. And you're like, you guys are purposely leaving out the results for the first 2 weeks of this year. You get what I'm saying? You start to realize that people are playing a game to lead you into the slaughterhouse. And they lead you into the slaughterhouse because they make money off of more people being in the slaughterhouse, right? So start with an open mind and compare it against everything. Like, I only want the best for what's best for you, your family, your portfolio, and may the best, asset class win. May the best financial structure system win, and we know what it's going to be. So,
Yeah, that's good advice. People need to study. Please don't believe us. You don't
take
have to believe us. You can verify everything for yourself.
don't
That's
take my
the
word for anything.
yeah.
I'll look it up.
All right, brother. Last question, and I ask everyone the same question, which is, what is a core belief that you will never let go?
If you know the truth, you should speak it. Right? So that's what I think. I think it's selfish to learn things, to understand things, and to keep it to yourself. Right? So
Awesome.
you find truth in this world full of the manipulation, the lies, and the deceit. Speak the truth.